Okay, guys, I had a live stream last night with Road Trance and Fatal J, the weekly Friday night show. And after the show, Road Trance posed a question to me. How much do I think a Rian Johnson Star Wars trilogy would generate total at the box office? And I was like, okay, I'm not really sure. I didn't really think about that. So I had to stop and think for a minute because personally, I don't think his trilogy is going to get made because I think he is so much more of a liability to Star Wars and to Disney than he is an asset. Now, The Last Jedi, yes, it made them money, but most of that revenue that was generated was in like the first 2 weeks, and then the movie pretty much fell off a cliff. Nobody was going to watch it a second time. And that's very, very unusual for Star Wars fans. So it made $1.3 billion at the box office. But the backlash has been immense from that movie. And Rian Johnson keeps running his mouth about, the Star Wars fans and everything, calling them all kind of names. And Rian Johnson, he came out and he made a statement about where he's going with his Star Wars trilogy that he thinks he's getting. And he said he wants to move beyond the legacy characters. So I was thinking, okay, he wants to move beyond the legacy characters. Disney and Lucasfilm, they released Solo, a Star Wars story. It had the Han Solo name, and it was coming off of The Last Jedi and the Backlash. A movie with Han Solo's name did not make $400 million at the box office. It only made $392 million total worldwide. If I'm not mistaken, I believe in China, they pulled the movie Solo out of the theater after 2 weeks. 2 weeks. That's it. 2 weeks. They pulled it. It didn't stay in China very long. So Rian Johnson is going to make a trilogy with no characters. No one knows. Nobody is going to know anything about his characters. He's basically starting a sci-fi movie from scratch. That's it. No characters we know, no characters we care about. And so I was thinking, all right, if he makes that first movie, then I'm going to be kind of generous. I said, all right, $450 million just because it has the Star Wars name on it. And that's about it. But people don't forget very easily. People know how bad The Last Jedi was. People know that Solo, a Star Wars story, failed immensely at the box office. So with that said, I said $450 million. I think his whole entire trilogy is going to make $450 million total. The reason why is because the first movie makes $450 million. If it does, it won't generate a profit. It won't. And if it doesn't generate a profit, there is no way in the world Disney and Lucasfilm are going to make the next 2 movies. There is no way, because it'll just be a money pit. They already lost money with Solo. Then we're just saying that they lose money on the first movie in the Rian Johnson trilogy. No way in the world they're going to greenlight a second and third movie of Rian Johnson if the first one, I should say, fails. 450. That's what I'm going to say. First movie, Rian Johnson trilogy, 450. Now, if it has some, names that we know and love, maybe it'll get a little bit more, but it won't. He's already said they're moving beyond the legacy characters. It's going to be in a fresh new world. I think a couple of years ago, or a year ago or so, he said that, or there was a rumor going around saying that his trilogy was going to be in a different galaxy. And we heard that Disney said, no, we're not going to do that. So I don't know. Rian Johnson is probably thinking of something more outlandish to do with Star Wars than what he did with The Last Jedi. I mean, If he can't make Luke a good character, if he makes Luke in The Last Jedi one of the most hated characters in all of Star Wars, because that wasn't really Luke, how in the world is he going to create brand new characters and expect us to love them and care about them? It's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So I think Bob Iger, he's crazy. Yes, Bob Iger, he's turned into a crazy SJW now. But Bob Iger has to know that Rian Johnson is a liability. But maybe he doesn't. I mean, the guy gave Kathleen Kennedy an extension. He gave her a 3-year extension for running Star Wars into the ground. So maybe I shouldn't be surprised if Rian Johnson gets the second and third movie of his trilogy. It'll be a bad business move. But I want to say that Bob Iger is not that dumb. If the first movie loses money at the box office, there's no way in the world a second and third movie is going to get made. Now, I'm pretty sure that they would put a lot of money into making a Rian Johnson movie. I'm thinking, probably like $185 million for the first movie, which means that movie would have to generate $550 million to make a profit. If it makes $450 million, that means it's going to lose $50 million. And I think, honestly, they will pull the plug. So Rian Johnson, I just don't see it happening. I don't see a first movie in his trilogy being a success to justify a second and third movie. It just won't happen. I really, really believe it won't happen. So Bob Iger, he's actually never came out and said that Rian Johnson is actually doing a Star Wars trilogy. Only Kathleen Kennedy has said that. And Kathleen Kennedy overall is not in charge. Bob Iger is making the calls. And Bob Iger has said that Benioff and Weiss is getting their trilogy, but now we don't really know what's going on with Benioff and Weiss, because things are changing every day with them when it comes to Star Wars. There's this rumor now saying that they may only do one Star Wars movie, but that's another story, so I digress on that. But what do you guys think? Rian Johnson, will he actually end up making his entire trilogy? I just don't see it. Maybe you do. So guys, let me know what you think about all this in the comments. If you're new here to the channel, please hit subscribe to catch future videos from me, and we will catch you on the next video. John Matrixx, out.